Hi everyone, it's Tracy here from Art Fiber Stitch. Do you ever come back from your beachy kind of holidays with little bits of bark or stone or perhaps bits of seaweed? Well, I got some seaweed here that I pressed between pages and then made into my own souvenirs once it dried. It'll remind me of my holiday at the beach. So, whatever you do find, I like to use. It'll remind me of where I've been. Some people press flowers and things, but I'll press all kinds of stuff that I find. But these seaweeds, lovely. And when I look at them, all different types, I thought, wow, they can be used. So let's have a look here at all of these really different seaweeds and see what we can come up with. Maybe a few ideas of how we could use them. I'm only at the planning stage yet, but I really would like to do a nice gift for somebody that I was staying with and that showed me this lovely beach. So here we go. Here is the seaweed. Wow. Oh, just start looking at it. Not as it's meant to be. Like sometimes I will look at some and think, you're a tree, not seaweed at all. It's just that they are lovely, lovely shapes. And how can I use them? Oh, that's what I'm aiming to work for. I'm just going to start with some paper here. It's not a proper watercolor paper. Probably won't work as well as what I wish, but I just thought it's a start. Look at that, how I can arrange these. They definitely look like trees to me. Imagine a misty kind of background. Trees disappearing. There's another one. Different type of seaweed. You'll find all kinds on the beach, not just driftwood and shells. I like it, but it would be the same if you found a nice sprig of leaves or all kinds of different things. All kinds of plants are interesting. I like to bring them home. I'm a bit of a magpie and I'm always collecting things. I've just grabbed a box of tissues here and this paper, which I'm not really holding out a great hope for, but just whilst I'm trying to express myself and get some ideas, we'll start. I have some acrylic paint here. I have a turquoisey colour and a blue. What I'm going to do first is get some water in a cup and a paintbrush, and I'm going to start wetting down this paper and just see. And that's what I mean. If I was using a proper watercolor paper, which I couldn't find at the moment, so I'm just experimenting with this, it would accept water a whole lot easier than this paper will. But I'll give it a go. So I'm wetting it down and then I'm adding a little bit of paint from the tube, dot, 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 and mixing it in and seeing what happens. Oh, one dot in this instance. As you can see how it spreads a bit with the water, it's spreading out, just doing some vague stripes there. My idea was that I would then use my tissue to go over it and take bits out, draw bits out, and it would, well, it's not really doing it, it would mottle the effect so that I couldn't see all those brush strokes. We'll try that again with a different kind of paper. This time I'm going to use a card, and this is another great thing we could do. Send a card to somebody to remind them of our beachy stay. And so if I have this kind of pre-made card, and it's a fold-out thing, and I start thinking, oh, well, it'll only take one piece. I could just put one piece in there, something like that. You'd need some sort of background. You could make that with paper or fabric or paint. You just need some sort of a background there, I thought, before you can just plunge on one of these pieces. But this is the ideas phase. This is where you think, what could I do? I would like to make a few nice things. I think these cards are great. See how they fold out? And that bit there on the right, that will be the background, when the hole, the cutout square, will then fold over that. So we're only going to see this bit in the center. But I thought, let's try it. This paper is not as absorbent, and so it might be more useful for me if I try that tissue trick again. Yeah, you can see straight away. Can you see how it's taking, it mottles it, it takes bits of paint off. Because this paper was not as absorbent, it'll stay on the top, and that allows me to do that. Lots of fun things you can try with painting, just really so that it looks a little bit more natural. I'm just going to try another little bit there, different color, to see if that makes a difference. And I can try the same thing with the tissue. The more I take out, the more washed out it looks, but you know, that's a look. Perhaps I wanted a little bit of darker in there though, so I'm just thinking I might just spread that across. Not quite dark enough. I'll put a little bit more paint there. Oh, it's a bit thick now. I'm just using my fingers to sort of move it across the page. But if I added some water, and well, it is quite watery, and then I turn it up like this, see how bits of it will drip? It'll follow that path of water down. Yeah, and that really makes a good variation then. So that's quite exciting too. It doesn't take much. It really doesn't, to make an interesting background for your lovely seaweed. So here's some ideas. I'll let that dry, I think. See, that's what you would get. Just that showing. But just planning further, what else could I do? Yes, I know I want to add some seaweed. That's the whole point. But I'm also thinking it's not really standing out enough. Maybe I need some sort of contrast. Maybe here's some very pale tissue paper. I thought maybe I could stick that down. But look at this. This is a water drop kind of handmade paper. You can get these in scrapbooking kind of shops and that. But I don't want a straight edge on it. I want it to look more natural. And you'll still see bits of the background. But it just makes it that little bit more, a little bit more interesting. And then you could still put your whatever you choose on top. Remembering that you're only going to see that little bit in the center. But if the person really wanted, you could send it like that, and then they could take the whole picture underneath and they could frame it. So you might want to have some fun with that. I also think you could probably stitch through this. I'm thinking some of these seaweeds, and see how they're quite thick sometimes. It's very hard to separate it when you're trying to press it. So I've just separated those little bits out, thinking that looks a whole lot better in smaller groupings. But imagine if you did do that and then maybe added some stitching. Maybe you could do a little bit of French knots on the tops of those to look like corals. Looks quite good. Sometimes you're just not in the mood to do a proper painting or a proper piece of work. But it's good to just play like this and get some ideas of what might work and what might not. I'll probably do a better version of everything later when I'm feeling more in the mood. But right now, I quite like this. I quite like just playing. So that's just water and acrylic paint and letting it bleed out, taking some of that colour off just to break it up a wee bit. And I don't mind doing things like that. You could spray it on with a toothbrush. I've done a lot of things like that where you try for more randomness in your picture. So here's some blue. I'm just popping some of that in as well. Across there. Make a darker area. Something slightly different. those of you that aren't very confident in your brush strokes, just doing stripes and then lifting bits off, that's really quite a good way to put a colour down. But then again, like I said, you could use tissue paper or many other kind of ways to colour your paper like that. So here it is. Here's a background to start with. Let's grab this nice lacy kind of paper. I really like it because it looks like frothy waves. I've used quite a bit of this in different things, and I like that it allows bits to show from underneath, obscures some bits. I'm not sure what I'm after yet, but that's what I'm doing. I'm just putting things down and trying different things, getting ideas, getting a feel for what might work in the future. Trying these different bits of seaweed allows me to come up with more ideas. What I really like to see here in this picture. Do like that one. I don't know that we want it sticking out of the froth though. That kind of doesn't work. I'm kind of thinking too, oh, this one's way too thick. We don't see much of it, do we? I'd have to pry some bits off that. Thin it down. And just use bits. And that's what makes me think maybe I could use that up the top. That looks better actually to me as a picture. That frothy stuff could then be, well, it could be the sunlight coming through into the ocean. But I do need to thin this down a bit, so I'm just having a look at what I could use. There in the foreground, choose a few different bits to see. How would I attach it? Well, I like to use PVA glue and water, and I like to, and then I would weigh it down to make sure it stayed nice and flat. I'd arrange these like that. I do like to put a surround around something just to isolate the picture and see what I might like best. You know, because I might want it up there, but then I'm losing my pieces here, so I can pull them up and design it properly as to where I want everything. But once again, it gives me other ideas. I'm thinking little fish in the background to emphasize that we're underwater. You could also colour your seaweed a little bit, couldn't you, with some paint or dye or something. So there we are. There's two different things there that I am toying with. I could make a card. I could make a picture to send to a friend. And I've used something that I found on a holiday. And that's like making your own souvenir. You see these things in souvenir shops. Make up your own. When I look at this piece here of seaweed, I think it looks rather like a tree. So I'm thinking, I don't know that I want everything to be a big blue background like that. How about we just do something like that? You know, the simplicity of that. Just that banana paper, that homemade paper. You know, with something like that in there. You could add something else. Maybe I just like it like that. As a tree in a landscape. It's pretty plain, but it's a nice statement. This here is birch bark. I picked some of this up too. And you can peel off a thin layer of it. It's got some nice stripes on it. It's a nice colour. And I'm thinking I could put it down, and that could be like a hill, and my little tree is going to sit on top. So I think nothing is wasted here. We've come up with some ideas, and I think next time I will actually do something properly and show you how you can make your own souvenirs from the seaside. A little bit of seaweed or whatever you pick up. I'm always playing with things that I find. I think that's a wonderful way to bring nature into your life. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can leave a donation should you wish to on one of the links. Thanks again for watching, and I do appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.